Hey, what's going on? Alex Anselme here with Anselme Tennis. Today's video, I'm going to bring you some highlights of a match I played the other weekend. And I'm going to go over a few things to explain how you want to start a match in tennis. Some good things you want to do and some things you maybe want to avoid so that you don't get yourself in trouble early in the match that you might have to make up for later. So we're going to start a match here against a decent level player. And I won the toss and I chose to serve, mainly because we're playing on a pretty fast indoor court, and usually that's going to help the server out. So I chose to start serving in this match. Sometimes I can make a video on that if you guys want. Let me know in the comments if that's something that interests you, and knowing when the toss, when to pick, when to serve, when to return, or anything like that. But that's not the point of this video. I'll comment a little bit behind the points so you kind of know what the thought process is, what's going on in my mind at these moments, and hopefully it helps you get a better start to your matches and avoid some key mistakes sometimes that a lot of players do make in the beginning of their match. So let's watch the match here a little bit and I'll catch you in the end. All right, so right off the bat here, I'm going to tell you that the thing you want to do when you're starting off matches is to play a little bit higher percentage tennis than what you're used to, okay? So here, this first point, this is a ball I would usually attack, but instead I'll just go back cross court. And you're going to see this point, I'm just going to hit every single ball back cross court, okay? Because this is an opponent I've never played before. So I just want to keep the ball in play, get a feel for how they play a little bit, what their ball feels like. And you can see every ball went cross court, and that was kind of interesting because it's the longest rally that we have actually in the first 5 games. And what I'm going to show you here is the first 5 games of play. So that was kind of the longest rally. So again, that was a high percentage serve. That was a kick serve for a first serve that I put in there at 15 love. Get a free point, so that you're always happy to get right there. Here, making sure to get that second serve into the backhand. See there again, another kind of short forehand, which typically you could attack, but just put that ball back cross court. Don't do too much with it. Don't look for too much in the beginning. That was a pleasant surprise ace. I wasn't really going for it, so I was always happy to get it. If you guys want to know what I mean by pleasant surprise, I'll maybe put a link up to a video I made about how to hit more winners than errors. But there, my opponent's returning the favor with an ace of his own, so now he's up 30 love. Up 30 love for my opponent, but this is my first look at a second serve, so I haven't made him play a ball yet on his serve, so the goal here is definitely to get the return in play and make him play a shot. Okay, so we did that, got another ball in. I'm not sure why he chose to kind of hit that ball. I think he would have been better off trying to slice it. And this right here, that's just a little bit premature, kind of the first service game, 4th point. I mean, it's not a bad play, but overall, I know in the match he tried that play quite a bit against me, and overall, I don't think the percentages were in his favor because it worked a couple times in the beginning, but then in the end, I was kind of catching on to it. So unfortunately, the opponent makes a couple loose errors, and then I take advantage of with a shank return right into the corner of the court. So far, can't ask for much of a better start. Break in the first game. So far I'm 5 for 5 on points on my serve, so I haven't lost a point on my serve yet. This is 6 for 6, so this is the good part of the beginning of the match, and now is when the mistakes start to come in. So they're going for a little bit too much. I let that ball drop too much. I hesitated a little bit moving in and ended up missing it long. There I go for a first serve. I'm a little bit greedy with that one. What I want to try and get across is in the beginning when I was doing well, up until 2 love 30 love, is I was just trying to play higher percentage tennis, keep the ball in play. And at 2 love 30 love, I started to go a little bit more on my forehand and for a little bit more on my serve. And that's a shot right there. That miss right there, that's a poor error. A lot of times that's just missed to the legs being a little bit heavy from the initial nerves, and the loss of the 2 previous points put a lot more pressure on you or on me for that shot. So ended up missing that one. Got myself a little bit in trouble, down break point, which I saved with a nice serve. But here we are at deuce again with another second serve because I just going for a little bit too much on the first serve there. And here I'm trying to play a point where I'm really just trying to keep the ball in play. I'd really like to consolidate the break of serve that I've gotten. But unfortunately I play too passively there, and he's the aggressor, and I end up missing. All right. Again, another missed first serve, so starting a point off with a second serve here. and my opponent's gonna, even though he's staying pretty far back right here, you can see how he moves pretty far into the court, takes it early. And on a fast court, that's another forehand error. I was really struggling with my forehand right there. So, again, that's the idea, is that when you're starting off the match, you really want to just be playing higher percentage tennis. And the mistake that I made is to start going for my shots a little bit more, just because I opened up a lead in the score. And that's a really common mistake. We get ahead a little bit, and all of a sudden our strategy, our game plan changes, and we feel like we can start going for more, and we start missing, and then the lead evaporates. So what you want to do when you start your matches is to be playing higher percentage tennis, and just be a little bit more disciplined, be a little bit more patient than usual. And try not to go for too much. I mean, that being said, obviously if there are clear, putaways or sitters or attack balls, you need to attack those. But overall, you're not really looking to be too aggressive necessarily in the beginning. You're kind of just trying to get used to the court that you're playing, the balls, the opponent, all these kinds of things. Because as you can see, right here, I'm kind of struggling a little bit finding the timing on my forehand. Here comes another ball to my forehand and another shank. So, at this point it's getting a little bit frustrating. I'm up 2-love, 30-love, and all of a sudden it's 2-all, love 15. So this is an important point right here. And given that, you can see I don't go for too big on the first serve. Make sure that first serve goes in, which I think that was also, again, a smart play right there. And then just finish things off at the net without having to go too big on the forehand, right? Because at this point in the match, I'm realizing that I'm gonna have to find a way to win the point without having to be able to hit any kind of big forehands, because my forehand right now is kind of a liability. So that's kind of a welcomed error right there. And so we're back in front here with 30-15. Happy to just roll a kick serve in there for a first serve, get another free point. And here we missed the first serve, but eventually we'll get the point and go up 3-2. So overall, some good things and some bad things to the start of this match. All right, so there you have it. Hopefully that helps you guys a little bit figure out how to play a match. If I recap it really quick, the idea is that what you want to do when you start playing a match generally is just play a little bit higher percentage. Play at about 70 to 80% of your max power or abilities. Don't go for too much too early. Okay, I think the reason why a lot of players make this mistake is because when you watch the pros play, the pros don't necessarily always apply this. They can to a certain extent. That is, it's better to kind of start off a little bit slower maybe and progressively elevate your game little by little, hopefully peaking by the end of the first set, beginning of the second set, right? But pros generally are pretty finely tuned athletes, and they can step into their A game pretty quickly. The rest of us playing aren't probably as well prepared as we could be or should be, and so generally speaking, especially given the fact that there's always those initial nerves in the beginning of a match, it's always going to be smarter to play a little bit higher percentage tennis, a little bit more disciplined tennis, a little bit more patient than you're used to in the beginning. And you can see in the highlights that worked out pretty well for me. And then the mistake I made, which you want to avoid, is to start going more for your shots just because you've opened up a lead in the score. Okay, that's just another really common mistake. That is, okay, we've gotten ahead a little bit, we've pulled ahead, we've created a little bit of we've got a little bit of margin for error, and so we lose that discipline. We start going for shots a little bit more, the errors creep in, and then the lead evaporates. Okay, and I thought this was a good example because I did a little bit of both in this one here, which is I actually played high percentage tennis in the beginning, let my opponent make quite a few of the errors in the beginning, but then a mistake that I made was that I just started going for a little bit more, starting at 2-love, 30-love, and I'm going to show you a little bit what I mean here when you look at the dynamics of the match. It's really interesting sometimes to see, the amount of points won in a row, or the streaks of points won. So I'm going to show you that to you right now, explain to you a little bit what I mean. All right, so here's a little printout of, I took some stats of the match. This is an advantage of taking videos of your matches, is then you can go back and you've got all the information you need to take the stats of your match, okay? So what this graph represents is actually the number of shots that were hit in each point. So it essentially determines the rally length. And you can see that this is kind of a fast court with not too many rallies. That first point right here, we had 13 shot rally. And like I said, that was the longest rally of the whole opening of the match, at least in the first 5 games, okay? Then you can see lots of points with, 1-1-1s, 2s. So you can see the red dots are the points that I lost, and the other points are the ones that I won, all right? The line coming down through here is what's called the frequency curve, so that's just kind of like more or less the average number of shots, and you can see it's not too high. The average number of shots, I think, in total was 2.4 or so, not very high. This is a match where the result is really highly dependent on serve and return a serve, and maybe that first shot after, okay? But one thing that's really interesting to note, because I don't know if, watching the highlights right there, you saw the match this way. But what I noted down here is I noted if a player won how many points in a row. So you can see that I win the first 4 points in a row, then I lose 2, then I win 6, then I lose 3, then I win 1, lose 5, win 2, lose 2, win 4, okay? And so this is kind of a little bit what I mean, what I was saying when I was doing well. If you combine these a little bit, you'll see that in the beginning, when I'm playing high percentage tennis, I've actually won 10 of the first 12 points. And that basically represents to getting up 2 love, 30 love, right? Then after that, this is where I made the mistake and I started going for a little bit more on my serve and my forehand. I only win 1 of the next 9 points, all right? And then I go back to kind of playing a little bit more higher percentage tennis, and I managed to get to 6 out of 8 points to finish off over there, okay? So this is just an interesting way to see it. I think after you see the graph like this, if you go back and rewatch the match, you'll kind of see the patterns emerging right there, okay? And I think that's really important to note too, that a lot of the times when things happen, things happen in bunches like these, and this is where the momentum comes and goes, and this is what you kind of have to pay attention to, and where it really comes in handy sometimes to take video of your matches, because then you can retrieve all of this information, okay? All right, well, anyway, I hope that helps. Just keep in mind to, again, play higher percentage tennis in the beginning of your match, and don't make the mistake of going for too much just because you've opened up a lead in the score. If something's working, don't change it, okay? I think that's a mistake that we all kind of tend to make sometimes when we get a little bit ahead in the score. We start going for a little bit more, and, that could be okay on a day where you're actually feeling the ball well. But that's the factor that you want to take in consideration, is how well am I feeling the ball? How well am I timing my shots today? How well am I moving? If those things are going well, you can go for your shots a little bit more. But don't start going for your shots just because you've opened up a lead in the score. That's a sure way to start making more errors and see that lead evaporate a lot quicker than you would like to, okay? Anybody who'd like to know the results of the match in the end there, because we stopped at 3-2 in the first set on serve, I ended up winning the match 6-3, 7-6. It was a little bit of a struggle, but it's a little bit tricky sometimes on those fast courts to find your rhythm. Hadn't played too many matches lately either, so it was a little bit hard for me to close out the match when the time came. I was actually up a break in the second set, and he came back, and then I broke again at 5-5 in the second and served at 6-5, had 40 love on my serve, sprayed 5 shots in less than 2 minutes, and instead of shaking hands and going to grab a drink with the opponent, we were off to a tiebreak, which I was up 5-2 in, but then my opponent comes back to 6-5, has a set point, and I eventually end up winning 9-7 in the tiebreak. So another good lesson I think you can get out of that is that, you don't have to play perfect tennis to find a way to win. I made a lot of errors on that day. Performance-wise, for me, out of like a 10, I would put that as like a 3 or a 4. I'm not really too thrilled with how I played that day, but the conditions were a little bit tough, playing against a player who liked to move forward, put the pressure on you on a fast court. So overall, happy with the result you can get that day. But it helps to be playing a lot of matches and be match tough. And, the more match tough you are, the quicker you'll be able to get into the match quicker. So, especially if you're not too match tough, take your time in the beginning, play high percentage tennis, try and make as many shots as possible, give your opponent as many opportunities to miss as possible. and allow yourself to try and get in rhythm a little bit, so that hopefully by the time you get towards that end of the first set, the beginning of the second set, that's when you're feeling really tuned into your game, and that's when you can kind of step up your level, maybe push into that next gear, see if your opponent can follow you there. All right, so anyways, hope that helps, and we'll see you all on the next video.